And we are live with another Columbia Tools podcast with the legendary Kameron Brown.
Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute, but that's good. I miss you already.
Right. All right, looking forward to the next one.
Right? Yeah, if we could keep that up to being quarterly, that'd just be awesome. So we're gonna talk about the Autotaper. Just gotta go through it. I couldn't think of another person that I would rather talk about the Autotaper with than you. I think you probably own the
Oh, dude,
most of everyone
you
that I
saw
know.
you saw me up there at the Columbia Tools. Like I didn't leave the bazooka, like the auto taper section.
No,
I was like a kid in a candy shop there.
I got this excellent picture of you, like kind of like looking like this, and then all the auto tapers around you. I think I sent it to
Yeah, I
you.
got it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Me in heaven.
It was pretty dope, man. Well, I would have loved to put a taper head together, but I think that would have taken all fucking day. Trying to do that hand was like 20 minutes,
Yeah, that would have been a process putting the head together.
and then the poor
That's
person that
I've
got
tried.
it.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't have left there in bad shape. It'd have been fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, we both got our taper
Custom
heads here.
taper
I
caps.
know.
Yeah.
I even got the original. I got the original.
What?
Yeah, that's the It's Your Man Cam original. I'm gonna
I
fucking
forgot about that one.
I'm gonna put this in epoxy. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Like
Wow.
you know how people do like a trading card or whatever, like this big. I
Yeah.
I think that's what this is gonna end up being.
That'd be legendary.
Right? Yeah, man. So these are game changers, total game changers. So you were saying you never ran anything prior to the auto taper.
No, I was a hand taper. Just pan and knife. Um, no, the guy that taught me was just a hand taper, and I think he picked up a bazooka one time, but he was like mid 40s when he picked it up. And
Mm-hmm.
you know how heavy and awkward that thing is to learn. He ran it for a day, he put it down, didn't want it.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time, he'd been hand taping for 20 years, so he's not going to take that learning curve because old guys are stubborn. And number two, there is a learning curve with running the taper. I mean, even me being a hand taper for like 2 years before I got my auto taper, there were still points where I was taping angles and I was putting it to the side and going back to what I know because it can be a frustrating tool to learn. Today, so Wes is kind of moving up and he's starting to run the taper and run job
Mm-hmm.
sites on his own for me. And I went in there today and the ceilings are 9 foot and Wes is I'd say he's 5'9". He's just a little bit shorter than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so frustrated because he was trying to tape those top angles. And dude, for a short guy, like I'm pretty sure when I started out doing them, I had to get up on my stilts to where I could get that bazooka at the right angle and
Yep.
be able to tape 9 foot angles. Like it's not an easy tool to learn. Like be prepared to be frustrated for a couple months until you get the hang of it.
I kind of
But
feel. Oh,
there's
yeah.
so
Go ahead.
many advantages to it. Like instantly you're gonna love it because when you're flat taping, like but I guess the only thing that's frustrating about it is when you're starting out on angles. Like
Yeah.
there's a learning curve to it. You'll get started down an angle and it's running smooth. You cut it and that tape's following you right down the wall,
Yeah.
know.
Or it's fucking 6 inches too short. Yeah.
Or
You're like,
it's too short. Yeah.
damn. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But I mean, and there's so much to it. Like mud consistency is a huge thing. The thinner you have your mud, the less your tape's going to drag out of the angle.
mm-hmm.
Um, Things like adjusting the drag brake on the cable or the drum of the bazooka,
Mm-hmm.
like to where you can lessen your drag and let your tape run out easier. Um, it's an intricate tool. Like there's a lot to it.
It's a very specific tool, and you can dial it in to
Absolutely.
yourself, right? And that I don't
Yeah,
think.
you have to customize it to your
Yeah, it's a weapon, man, right? Like, and you have to figure out how you want to use it, and then you have to adapt it to your style of using it. I think
Mm-hmm.
Aaron touched on that when we were out west, where nobody touches that
Yeah.
drag. Like, why not? If there's something on it that adjusts, you need to be adjusting it, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
see, what's it like full tilt, what's it like backed all the way off, and then which one did you like least, and
Yeah, right.
move it a little closer, right? Like it takes an
Yeah.
afternoon to figure that out, really, it like kind
Mm-hmm.
of where your range is. Um, yeah, I mean, verticals. I feel like once you give that little bit of a tail, your verticals are pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
But those top corners, you have to figure out when it's time to put it down and take a deep breath, and
Yeah.
when it's time to pick it back up, right?
Or those days that your fingers start hurting from pushing that creaser wheel so hard.
So how's Wes doing with it?
He's doing great, man. It's just 9 foot ceilings. Like that's hard for
Mhm.
us for short guys to learn. Like 8 foot, it's a breeze. But you got to bump up to 9 foot, and you got your arms clear above your head running it.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
So I was gonna say, so I can say the same thing because I just did a house with 10 foot doing the same thing, and it was fucking miserable.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We got, I don't know, 80% through 10,000 board feet, and we did the tops last, which was stupid. I probably should have started there or something because
Uh-huh.
my shoulders were just exhausted. Like
Yeah.
I was getting to the end of the wall, and then when I cut it, my arms would like immediately drop because you're just like, fuck, that's the minimal amount that I have to hold this thing up. And then that's actually the same day that I sent you that video of me on the stilts because I thought
Yeah.
that was the way I was going to do it, but I don't know. There's a part of me that just wants to do some reps with the shoulders because fuck stilts, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know. I feel like you'd have to be walking on stilts for like a year before you
Oh
attempted
yeah,
running the taper on them. Like I do it. Um, but I'm pretty
it's
good on the stilts. Like
yeah. I mean, because you're not moving slowly on the stilts. You're like running with an auto taper, so it's like
right.
to try and master those two things at the same time with having no experience on either. You know what I mean? It's not a brilliant experience. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the biggest thing people hear about with this taper is how difficult it is to clean, and I don't think it is at all. Uh,
No.
when they sent me that, and then I went out west and I left it fully caked. Like I mean, took it from running it on the wall and left it in my garage, and I thought it was going to be a disaster. Like I figured fully that I was taking that front assembly off. Like I figured all of this shit was coming off of it, and it didn't. I soaked it in a bucket of hot water for like 15 minutes and then just like scrubbed and sprayed. I think I was 10 minutes from absolutely disaster to back working again. And then you oil everything
Yeah.
up and you replace all the shit that went rusty. And but I mean, if you're being an adult, it's I don't think they're very hard to clean at all, man.
I was gonna say if you spray them off when the mud's still wet, like it's pretty simple to take care of. I'd recommend getting a little pressure washer, like a light
Mm-hmm.
pressure washer, little electric one. And but you can spray it out with a garden hose. Just pop that cap off and spray some mud through there.
Yeah. That's what I do now. I thought I was gonna go and get like a DeWalt or like you've got that little Ryobi pressure washer. And for
Mm-hmm.
35 bucks on Amazon, I got this like it's a hose and it expands as the water pressure builds. So the hose is only like this big. And then when I plug it in, it expands. You spray the shit out of it. It came with this wicked sprayer and it was like 35 bucks or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it does a great job. I've had no issues with it. All of
Yeah,
my tools, I've had no issues with it. I think if you are running the
right.
tool all day long, you just go outside and spray it. Or if you're halfway through the day, take 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
spray it off, and you're good to go, right?
We're just throwing in a bucket of water.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, I have to do it
That's
immediately or I don't do it.
there's there's a lot of times running the taper like when you're learning it that it's gonna dry because you're not running it fast. Like when you're running it
Mhm.
fast, things don't get gummed up in it. But when you're running it slow, you're gonna have some mud leakage, and it gets in the chain and it starts gumming up on you. You're gonna want to just drop it in a bucket of water, let it sit for 5, 10 minutes, just brush it off, and then come back to it.
Hmm. Yeah, even just give it a spray off. Like Nick's got that big brush. That thing was perfect. Where it
Mm-hmm.
kind of like somehow magically it kind of gets into all the little crevices that it needs to, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
look like it's gonna at all. But it worked out pretty good.
Mhm.
The guys we're working with use a paintbrush. I've always used just a scrub brush and a sprayer. Um, yeah, I think so, man. Uh, what else would you so if you had like to steal Nick's pearl of wisdom, like if somebody first person to message you about how do you run this thing, like if you had to give them a tip right off the bat, maybe a couple of tips, what do you think you'd tell
I feel like the first one would be mud consistency. As a hand taper, I was always mixing thick mud 'cause I didn't want to soften out my paint.
them? Hmm.
So I feel like the first thing would be mud consistency. Don't be afraid to add water to that mud. Like
Yeah,
there's even times where I'll take a full bucket, take 2 scoops of mud out of it so I can add water and it's not overflowing.
yeah, fill it up.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and just patience. Like that's you're not gonna learn this tool in a week.
Yeah,
It's gonna take a little bit of time. And dude, anything that you do it's gonna take you 4 years to master.
totally.
And like when you get to that 3, 4 year point of running this tool, like you can feel it. We can tape a 10,000 foot house out in one day. Like I've got 2 guys behind me. We've got a good system. We run through it.
Yeah, run,
You
run,
can
run.
really put some tapes on the wall with this tool.
Yeah.
Um, just take the time to learn it.
Yeah, I mean, any trade that you're going to get into and it's got a certificate behind it, they're asking for like 10,000 hours. That's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take the most difficult piece of machinery in our trade and think you're going to learn it in a 6 months, there's no way.
No,
But there's nothing stopping you from picking it up first day. You can do your bevels, you can do your flats. Like those are very easy to figure out. And if you got a Bambi walk your way through it, do that, right? Like the learning curve, there's different areas to master as well, right? Like in my opinion, it's very hard to get some drag on a bevel so bad that you're going to miss it. You
right.
know what I mean? Same with the butt joint. They're 4 feet. It's very easy to kind of like figure out where you cut it, where it lands when you cut it. That kind of stuff. On your verticals, you'll start to get some drag if your mud's a little thick or your drag set a certain way, or like Aaron's saying, if you are hammering down on that creaser wheel, it's gonna pull the tape. Like all that's
Mm-hmm.
there for is to kind of settle it into where it wants to go. Because then you're gonna come with a roller and a flusher and whatever. Do you use a flusher afterwards? Or are you doing an angle head?
I did an angle header for the longest time, but I've just
Hmm.
recently been taping with flushers, just trying them.
Yeah,
Um, but I even tried finishing with them, but I find angle heads for the finish coat. Been doing a 2.5 on my tape coat, 3.5 finish coat, and they're coming out good.
nice.
So I guess I'm liking the flushers because when I'm taping, it's not pulling the tape out of the corner. Like I can go deeper into the 3-way. I've got less mess to clean up.
Yep.
Whereas with an angle head, you kind of have to go, a couple inches out from the 3-way.
Yeah, and then you're kind of playing with that 3-way to make it perfect with a knife.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like kind of like whispery debate about the flushers and the angle heads of like because the flusher they're saying it's less sanding and I kind of get it, right? But it's just a knife that's pushing it against the wall. Like you may not be getting enough mud, and that's kind of the way that I looked at it. I
Hmm.
always did my tape coat and then 2 coats. I'm fucking brand new to just doing 1 coat after a tape coat, and
Yeah.
it's working out dope now. But before, when I was doing the 2.5, the 3, and the 3.5, it kind of gradually builds and it gives you this beautiful corner.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. It's but that flusher first until I got the 2.5. That's exactly what I did, and then I came back with the 3 and the 3.5 because it I think it sets the tape really well.
Yeah. It
And if
does.
if the wall's a little fucked up too, like it really it's very forgiving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I hope my voice is back at least enough.
Oh, dude, you're sounding a lot better than yesterday. Like I felt bad
Jesus.
for you when you posted that story yesterday.
I'm just
It's like,
like,
damn, he did a podcast.
there was a lot of listening in that podcast. I'm happy it was
Uh,
with an interesting person, man. Or it would have been it would have been a redo.
so what about you? Do you have any what's your pearl of wisdom for somebody running the taper?
100% mud consistency, right? Like and
Absolutely.
I feel like if you don't know where your head's at with the mud consistency, add water until it burps. You know what I mean? Like that air bubble bloop, comes out of the
Hmm.
top of it, and then give it a go. Pump half a tube and do a couple of butts and see how it's running, right? You can always add more water, you can always add more mud. It's not the end of the world. Um, I would
Hmm.
very much tell people, and if you want to get methodical about it, document it. Go get a fucking Kool-Aid jug and mark how much water you're putting in. I don't know, but I mean, like there
I
are
know,
ways
I
to
know,
make it
guy.
not
Yeah,
impossible.
there are guys that will cut the top off a pop bottle or a Gatorade bottle and
Yeah,
measure it. After you do it for so long, I feel like you just know the feel with your paddle. You know
totally.
how the mud whips. You just got a feeling for it. Um, but yeah, and having your mud right will make it easier when you go to tape your angles too, because a lot of the time, if your mud's too thick, your tape will start to drag, and then you're
Mhm.
stopping, you're pulling that crease out of the tape. Like it can cause mud consistency can cause a lot of issues
Yeah.
and solve a lot of issues.
Yeah, I feel like those top corners are in, like I really feel like they're the hardest part. And when that mud consistency is perfect, it holds it there. It almost feels like. And then
Hmm.
and then you're running with it and everything stays. If it's a little off one way or the other, it's fucking chasing you down the wall. And I mean, that's gonna happen a couple of times before you want to wrap this thing around a pole. But that would be the other kind of pearl of wisdom, I guess, if you were gonna ask me, is just really fully understand where if you're losing your temper, put it down. Like you did tape yesterday a different way than this, right? So just do that, right? If you're starting to freak out, take a deep breath, do what you're comfortable with, but then don't give up. Come back to it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, and just try it again. And some days are just not going to be your day. It's
Right.
just the way that it is, right?
Yeah,
Like
you just gotta keep it in the back of your mind. Like, how long did it take you to get that good at
oh
your
yeah,
prior method to taping, whether it's hand taping or running a banjo, compound tube,
man,
any of
even the
those? Like, none of that you learn overnight. It's
no.
all got it's a learning curve.
If I
So,
can go back to the first time that I used a compound tube, the amount of fucking mud that I had on that wall was incredible, right? And same thing, mud consistency with that too, right? And then you run your flusher up and all this shit falls down because you've got way too much on there. Like
dude, mine was just the opposite. Like my mud was too thick, and I stood above that bucket of mud and pulled on that tube for like 20 minutes. Like I'm thinking, this thing sucks.
yeah,
And then I get it full, and I'm pushing it against the wall, and dude, same thing, like pushing
yeah.
my guts out.
Doing like a big pull push with your whole body, and then now you got to flush it. It's like,
Yeah.
man, this is terrible. But I mean, even with the basic stuff, like you're saying, I think everyone forgets every step of the way was a pain in the ass. The first time I put a box against the wall, it like exploded mud everywhere. It's and then I was just dragging this thick mud. Like everything has that learning curve, right?
Mhm.
I think I'm trying to remember where I heard it, but I this is one of the most intricate like piece for piece tools on in construction or something. I'll have to, all right, we're gonna fact check that, but we'll get back to it. But because the head assembly, like the amount of pieces and pins and gears and all that shit that goes into this.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Like,
Hmm.
you got to think clear down to, you have to know where that cutter is going across to know where your tape is, that you're going to have 2 inches of tape no matter, you've got to stop 2 inches short. You've
Yeah.
got to be thinking in the back of your mind where your cutter is. Like there's so much. It's an intricate tool to run. It's an intricate tool to learn, like to know how it works. And the first time that I tried to take one apart and rebuild it myself,
Ooh.
I think that it's still in pieces. I think that I'm sending it to Aaron next week to take care of.
Yeah,
But I ended up buying. Well, I had another one because I won one in a Columbia giveaway on
hmm
Instagram, which we should also touch on that. That's where I learned
yes.
so much on running the taper, like just watching other guys. Like you don't need to see a how to video to see how to do it. Just watch guys that are good and see how they run it, and
hmm
you can learn so much from just that. But yeah, I tore that first bazooka apart and ended up just running my backup bazooka and never got it put back together.
See, you skipped over that part when you told Aaron that you had one that wasn't working.
I didn't realize that it was like a skeleton. When I picked it up, I remember, dude, this thing's been in my garage for like 2 years, and I've just been taking parts off of it. Like, if one of my bazookas went down, I'd just take this part
Oh,
off. And I've
that's
got like
perfect. Yeah.
every part to replace it in a bag, but I never put the two together.
It's okay. They'll be happy to do that for you.
Right. And it's crazy because I have a mechanical background. Like I was a
Yes.
mechanic for a couple of years. And dude, that is one tool that just it baffles me. Like, I mean, Aaron's got how-to videos on YouTube for rebuilding it.
Yeah.
I've watched them. It takes I don't have the patience to sit down and do it. It's got so many little parts and pieces. The one time that I did rebuild it, it was still leaking. So I was
Ooh.
like, I was just defeated, Like I finally took the time to do it that time, and I gave up on a man. I get like I don't know. I'd say I get a year and a half solid out of them,
Yeah. Okay.
and then just move on to the next one. But
Yeah. And
I've still got two good bazookas that just need rebuilt. It's not like
yeah, you don't
they're
got to
just
turf them.
thrown. I'm
Yeah.
not throwing them away.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have extras. Like, now that sounds like a very silly thing to say, but I mean, with the amount of board feet that you run through, if
Absolutely.
like,
Like
what would you do
I
without one?
need to be. It's every tool. That's my flat boxes. I've got 3 or 4 of each. Angle heads, 2 or 3 of each. Um, I just I can't go a week without a tool. I could, but as far as production goes, like I'm not going to lose money. I just
Mm-mm.
thought it was a good investment.
Yeah, I think so. And this new generation, you kind of sit there and you're like, why wouldn't you learn that way? Like, I think everybody needs to have a fundamental understanding of like knives and trowels and that kind of stuff. But man, if you could go back to day one and just pick up a bazooka, it kind of makes you wonder. I think you kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what you're doing when you're doing it by hand because it has to be a little bit slower. Like you are kind of wiping your own tapes, things like that. When you're running a bazooka, you
Mm-hmm.
got somebody chasing you, right? So it's kind of not your problem
Right.
as long as the paper stays on the wall. Yeah, man, I loved going there. I loved seeing that process.
Oh,
The
absolutely. And the
yeah.
just the efficiency of that place and the quality of everything was just incredible.
Mhm. And it's so organized. There was like this OCD piece in me that was just so happy where you're just
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
man, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any searching for anything. It's like, oh, I just have to walk clear across the factory and I know exactly where it's
Mhm.
at.
And here it is. Yeah, man, that's awesome. So have you given Wes like a full set and just said give her? Or like so
I pretty
how's
much have given him. I just let him have my trailer, like my
nice.
old work trailer. I've got that 5x9 enclosed trailer, and I'm in the process of building the new trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I'm just letting him run everything out of my old trailer. It's got all my tools in it whenever I need something. I've been mostly just taking care of smaller jobs right now while he's running the big sites.
Doing
And
fresco stuff and yeah.
yeah, doing fresco and most of that stuff I just work out on my truck. So I don't even the new trailer I've had since mm, when was it? I think
Was that
April or May.
it's after
And
Vegas anyways, yeah.
yeah, and it's only seen one job site, and that's because I had the other trailer was on site and I had to
Yeah.
use it. But no, I've just had it in my head that I want it to be fully built before I get it in production because the last trailer I had to use it while I was, customizing it,
Mm-hmm.
and it just never got fully done, you know.
I think that's the right way to do it, man, where it's like you did it the one way because you had to. You don't have to
Right.
run this one while you're building it, and it, it's going to be perfect when it's ready. So just, to
Absolutely.
give it that time. Yeah, that's wicked, man.
Yeah.
We got 10 minutes left. Not too bad. All right, what else do we
If you're
usually?
running the if you're running the Predator, I would highly recommend the 7-inch tomahawk for wiping it down on the ceilings. Just and the
Oh
tomahawk with a
yeah.
pole,
Mm-hmm.
that is the way to go.
I immediately figured that out.
Oh,
I got that 7-inch tomahawk because I had this, I don't mean to say idiot, but I had this idiot that was sent up with me the first time that I was given the tools to run that site in Sudbury. And he was like, here's your help. And I didn't know what he was going to do. So I got him a 7-inch tomahawk to, I don't know, to hold. Like I didn't know what he was going to do with it. And the first time that he ran that down the bevel, I was like, this thing's perfect for that.
hmm,
And then yeah, I back then I was putting it on a matrix handle because I didn't have the tomahawk yet, and
yeah.
I guess I did have the pole, but I didn't have the tomahawk. Yeah, good on you for bringing that up. That's
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of things that you're just like I think are common knowledge, but it's like if you're talking about it, you should talk about it.
Well, that's just it gets down to efficiency. Like I've been the past 3 years trying to figure out what's the quickest ways of doing everything. And it's like simple little things like having your the mud pan holder on your hip, the little pan holster.
Yeah.
If you got that on your hip and you're wiping ceiling tape down, you can, quickly empty that mud off the knife. Like just little things like that to make the process that much quicker.
So when you're bringing that tomahawk
A
down,
tomahawk for me.
are you there?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say the tomahawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the tomahawk for me was just another one of those tools that it was game changer.
Yeah. 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 I'm not sure what I would have used other than that. It just magically happened by accident.
I've used like knives on a stick. I even started out like I taped a 6-inch knife up on like an old broom handle,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and I think I forget who a couple people make wipe down knives, but
Totally.
that
Yeah.
one is just top quality. Like it's sturdy, it's good, it's the right it's the right one to use.
Yeah. And it's super flexible and it's the right size, I think. Like
Yeah.
you're it gives you a lot of distance before it starts pissing out the side. So when you take it down
Hmm.
when it's full, are you just grabbing your other knife, putting it into the bucket, like into your holder, or like how
No,
are you
I'll grab my pan out of my holder and
Oh,
just take the tomahawk and just like I would a knife
right,
and
right.
empty it. Hmm.
Oh, so that doesn't lock into place. It's just like a nest.
Yeah, it just hold. Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
Oh yeah, dude,
I
those
don't know why I
things.
thought it didn't undo
And
it.
even wiping down tape on the walls to like where you've got to stick your finger, and you've got a small piece
Hmm.
of tape that you've got to hold. It's great to just have that pan like right on your side, like big time saver.
Yeah, no shit.
Hmm.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, man.
Very good, very good. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, the Predator. Carbon fiber is incredibly light compared to not. I don't think we need to say much more than that.
No,
I
no, I think it's a no-brainer. And the fact that you can, the durability of it, I don't want to say that you
yeah.
can drop it and not worry about it, but the aluminum one's a lot more likely to dent. And if you cause that, that's a pretty big issue.
Actually, when we were out there, that carbon fiber one was fine. But you remember the all the metal stuff was bent. Like it took a hell
Mm-hmm.
of a drop. And sorry, what I mean by that for everybody listening, um, I don't even remember. There's this here and this here were bent closed. So this thing took a drop, and it was bent so bad that when I tried to unbent it, it snapped. But the tube itself was totally fine. I think if that was an aluminum one, that would have been a big issue. I
Oh
I
yeah.
I would have assumed anyways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a level 5 for a while, and it was awful heavy. And I would assume the original taper would have been the same. Um, I don't know what the cost difference is either, man, but it's not that much to say that you're going to
No,
walk around with all
to
that extra
upgrade,
weight.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that there's a temperature difference too. Like the carbon fiber doesn't, uh, the mud temperature doesn't affect it.
Oh yeah,
Like
like
with the aluminum one, if you've got a cold mud,
oh,
the
that'd be
tube will be
shitty.
cold. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm. Good eye. Oh, good man. This was good.
sure.
They it was really great that they had us out there. I really enjoyed
Oh,
that.
that was so awesome of them. Thanks again, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks guys. That was amazing. Meeting Jill was awesome.
Oh yeah, I still need to
Yeah.
post the picture with her.
Yeah. I put it on the friend the reel that I posted.
Yeah.
I don't know how much exposure she wants. Sorry, Jill, if you don't like this. It is what it is. Some people won't know who we're talking about anyway, so that's fine.
No.
Um, yeah, man. I think that's rock and roll. So I think we're gonna wrap this up and then hop back on, hang out.
Yep. Hmm.
All right. All right. You got any shout outs you want to do?
I think I just said thanks, Aaron, but thanks again, Aaron, dude. That was an awesome trip. It was so cool to see the facilities and just top tier. Like that was fun.
Yeah, that was top shelf for sure.
Oh yeah,
All right. Thank you to Columbia. Thank you to Aaron, Elliott, Bernie for having us out to your place. Um, buy your tools at CSR. Buy Columbia tools. Be humble. Treat everyone the same and do your fucking job.